There are three areas that will be discussed here with regard to user interface design of a desktop and laptop, which are layout and formatting, data entry, and navigation and visibility. So first with layout and formatting. Usually, desktops and laptops have large screen displays with adequate space to provide a rich and engaging user interface. So, some of the several important guidelines are that design screens with purpose or purposeful designs. Each screen should have a primary purpose or use. Do not clutter the screen with unnecessary elements. Allow empty spaces, sometimes called white space, on the screen to keep it simple and easily readable. And the next is consider location and grouping. Users in the Philippines read screens top to bottom, left to right. Place important items where they are easily found. Make logical groupings of related items and place them closer together. And then next, ensure professionalism. So no sloppiness or errors. Make sure that when people see the screen, it looks professional. Align and organize screen objects. Check for poor grammar and spelling errors. Make sure lists have equivalent language constructs, nouns or verbs or adjectives, always the same form. So, this figure here illustrates a sloppy or poor design of an input form with inconsistent labels, inconsistent text box types, poor spacing, misspelled words, and so forth. So how would you like to have to fill out data on this form? So how would you like to have your name associated with the design of this form? And the next that we will consider is the data entry. Screens and pages where users enter information require special attention. The overriding objective of data entry is always to minimize errors. The design of the screen can have a big influence on whether the data is error-free or error-laden. Errors not only reduce productivity, but also can compound the errors when the data is used for later purposes or processes. There are many ways to make beautiful, effective data input screens. So here are some things to consider as you design the screens. First is that use controls that minimize keystrokes. Use controls that do not require keystrokes, like list boxes with predefined fields. Allow quick selection of correct data. Date controls where the users can select a date controls, entering correct date and format. Autocorrect fields can also help ensure correct data. Use check boxes and radio boxes when possible. Though these types of controls can reduce productivity, they do minimize errors. And then set focus and tabbing. Set the cursor in the first data entry box so it is ready to accept data. Make sure the cursor tabs from field to field in a logical fashion. And then set font and text box sizes. Text box, list box, etc. Sizes appropriately. Set font sizes for both labels and enter text so that it is easy for the user to read. Set the size of the data entry so that the use of scroll bars is minimized. It is difficult to enter long sentences into a small text box that requires scrolling to view what was entered. And then include online editing to minimize errors. So the user interface can be developed to simply accept the entered information, Our program code can also be associated with certain fields to perform validations immediately. Some edits are simply logical and can be made locally. Other edits may require validation against the database, and it may not be feasible to perform those edits until the screen is submitted. In any event, it is always best to edit the newly entered data as thoroughly as possible as soon as feasible. So this example here shows a product search screen for RMO. So this screen allows the user to search for product or products using keywords and other criteria such as size, color, products, price ranges, gender, and catalog. So in the search group on the lower right, so the user can use a text box to enter data. There is also a list box which displays a drop-down of predefined values by clicking on the arrow. A combo box is variation of list box that also allows the user to enter new values if necessary. So contrast this form in this form here. So you see that this is well designed. And the next is for the navigation and visibility. So when designing for navigation and visibility, the developer must consider not just each screen individually, but the entire application or site. A good site design considers primary as well as secondary paths through the various screens, including both forward and backward movement. Desktop systems should have adequate screen space to allow for clear positioning menus, hot links, and buttons that are easily located. So this is an example of a web-based application. So where an item was recently added to a shopping cart. So generally, this is a good design, well organized and easily understood. However, it is somewhat limited in its use of navigation button. Frequently, a user would like to return to the search page to purchase a related item. Unfortunately, the only way to return to the original list of search results is the back button on the browser. A better design would be to include a continuous shopping link back to the search page.